So far, I've taught the general principle of meditation, and yesterday emphasizing just how to be in the present moment, how to keep silent, and started to introduce the breath meditation. And the breath meditation is by far the most popular meditation used by Buddhists to become enlightened. It was the one used by the Buddha under the Bodhi tree. It's not just a preparation meditation. It takes you all the way to enlightenment. As the Anapanasati Sutta, number 118 of the Majjhima Nikaya, keeps on telling us that anybody who completes all the stages of the breath meditation, Anapanasati, will complete all the satipatthanas, and they will complete the 7 factors of enlightenment. They will become fully enlightened. So this practice is absolutely complete according to the Buddha. It does everything. That is why it's one of the best meditation practices, if not the best. And also it is a natural way of letting go. Basically, that if you put your cup down, let things go, first of all your body relaxes and then it disappears. And then you let go of the past and the future where we spend, or rather we waste too much time. Then we stop all this inside chatter, and people say, well, what's there left to look at? The only thing left to look at is the only thing left which is moving, which is in the first year I was here with Ajahn Brahm, that some fellow came to see us, and they had imported the first of these sensory deprivation tanks, these plastic, almost like tombs or coffins, in which they put salt water, exactly the body temperature, and you just get inside, you actually float in there, so you don't feel any pressure on the body at all. It's not hot, it's not cold, it's exactly body temperature. It's airtight, but it's obviously ventilated, and soundproof. So the idea is you go inside one of these things, and there's no external sound, there's no aches or pains on the body, everything is turned off like some womb you go back into. And this guy came along and said, do you guys want to try meditating in one of these chambers? I said, yeah, I'd love to do that. But seniority, Ajahn Brahm was senior to me, so he had to go in there first. And so he went in there, he had to get a pair of bathers from somewhere, went inside there. And it was my turn next, but before I had my turn, our disciples came up to complain. Because this guy had now advertised his sensory deprivation chambers as used by Buddhist monks in his advertisement. In other words, he'd conned us. Say, come and have a go in it, just see what it's like. So he could use our name for advertising. So I never got to go in it. I was really pissed off. I really was looking forward to that. But I asked him, what was it like inside there? And he said, look, it's great. You have no aches or pains in the body because you're just lying down in warm, salty water. So, you can stay there for hours. And there's no sound to disturb you, no traffic. It's totally soundproof. And he said, but the thing which I could never shut out was his own breathing. And he said, that is actually what is so noisy inside the tank, because all the other distractions were cut out. And that was something which you cannot cut out. You bring your breathing inside the tank with you. And I thought that was a fascinating little insight there. In these little chambers, relaxation chambers, apparently what they actually do there these days is actually to show a video or play music, something to actually take over, or rather drown out the breath and the thinking which goes on in those tanks. But what I was surprised with, because Ajahn Brahm wasn't thinking so much, he was a monk, but he said the breath was so loud inside that tank, because when everything else disappears, that's the thing which is making all the noise. And that's exactly what happens when we meditate. We don't have to be in a sensory deprivation chamber. All we do is sit down on a comfortable seat until our body disappears, cut off the thinking of the past and the future and all this other labeling, and we get into silence. And what usually comes up naturally is your breathing, because that is always moving. So it's quite natural, even if you didn't go looking for the breath will come up as one of the stages in letting go. When everything else disappears, that is the disturbance we have to somehow calm down. So when I meditate, I never go looking for my breath. I just let go, relax my body, relax my mind, give up all the past and the future and all this thinking business, and then the breath is just there. The reason is because it's the last thing left moving. So that is why it is a very, very important meditation technique, because it happens naturally. So if you let go, it will always occur. And somehow or other we've got to calm it down. So you can either do this breath meditation naturally, just let go, make peace, be kind, be gentle, put down the cup, let go of the past and the future, let go of thinking. The breath will just appear to you. You can't avoid it. However, if you just want to go on to the breath as a way of reinforcing the present moment, reinforcing silence, fine, just go to the breath early on. But don't go too early onto the breath, because I said yesterday, otherwise you will have to control it in order to keep it peaceful. That's one of the biggest mistakes people make in breath meditation. As soon as they sit down, they watch the breath and they try and grab onto the breath and control it. As I said yesterday, that's like treating your breath like a slave. It will rebel and run away from you, and it won't like you. You won't be able to stay with it comfortably. So if you do want to go on to the breath, go on to the breath, but always regard it as a friend, not as a slave. Don't order it and boss it around. Respect it. And if it wants to disappear, let it disappear. It will come back again if it's a good friend. And with the breath meditation, first of all, we just have noticing the breath going in, the breath going out, breath going in, breath going out. It's a bit boring at first, I agree, which is why, to make it interesting, when the breath goes in, the breath goes out, we can actually do counting. In other words, breathing in one, breathing out one, in two, out two. There's lots of counting methods you can use. Especially if you are an auditor. There's a couple of auditors here. Or any other sort of accountant. If you like figures, and people love doing that. Breathing in one, out one, in. Because I did maths at university, my little counting method was breathing in one, in two, out two, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, 6, 6, 7, 7, 8, 8, in 9, out 9, start again, in 1, out 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, 6, 6, 7, 7, in 8, out 8, and then in 1, out 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, in 6, out 6, in 7, out 7, and then 1 to 6, 1 to 5, 1 to 4, 1 to 3, in 1, out 1, in 2, out 2, and lastly, in 1, out 1. A whole cycle of 45 breaths. And I did that because I had a complicated mind. And you know what happens? You're counting the breath, breathing in 16, out 16, in 17, out 17. You lose it. You're not mindful. It shows you weren't paying attention. And if that ever happened, I'd start right from the beginning again. So that was just one way of making the breath interesting, if you're a mathematician. If you are more sort of into other stuff, you're not really someone who likes counting, you can use words along with the breath. In Thailand, they used to use the mantra Bud Ho, breathing in Bud, breathing out Ho, in Bud Ho, because that was something which they could really have an emotional connection to, being Buddhist for generations and generations. You try that in the West, and most people don't have the same connection with the word Buddho. So in the West, my favorite mantra for people in the West is, as you breathe in, you recite to yourself the word shut. As you breathe out, up. Breathing in, shut. Breathing out, up. Breathing in, shut. Breathing out, up. It works. Because you say that to yourself after a while, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up. Then there's a good chance you might shut up. Or if that doesn't work, if you're more feely, green, environmentalist, new ager, you can say to yourself, breathing in, peace. Breathing in, peace. Breathing out, let go. Breathing in, peace. Breathe out, let go. Breathe in, peace. Breathe out, let go. Because when you say these words, they do have a psychological effect. If you keep saying to yourself, breathing in, peace, out, let go, you actually get some peace in your mind. And breathing out, let go. Anything of the past, any sickness, anything's bugging you, it helps you let it go with the out breath, because you can obviously understand the symbolism there. You're breathing in this oxygen, this energy, but make it breathing in peace with the energy. And when you exhale, you're always breathing out something. So with the out breath, you can also let go of the aches and the pains, the problems, the difficulties of your life. Breathing in peace, breathe out, let go. So when you chant that to yourself with the breath, it does give the mind something to hold on to. It's not so boring, it's not so bland, it's like adding sauce onto the curry. It gives it a bit of taste to it, so you can engage with it a little bit more easy. It is fake, but nevertheless it does work. So you can try that, so you can be with your breath when you're meditating. Breathing in, peace, breathing out, let go. But don't do it for too long, because it is just a little crutch to help you walk. It's just a support so that eventually you can watch the breath without needing these other words. The more simple you keep it, the better it becomes. Until you can just notice the breath go in, go out, without needing these words. The trouble is, though, that if you're just watching the breath go in, go out, there's a lot of space after you've said or noted the word in, until the next breath goes out. And what are you going to do in that space? Usually the mind goes wandering. So what we do is to try and increase our awareness of the breath. So it's not just breathing in and breathing out. It's noticing from the very beginning of the in-breath, that first sensation, just as the breath starts to go in. What does that feel like? And the next sensation, which comes directly afterwards, and another sensation. An in-breath is not just one feeling. It's hundreds of different sensations, all changing until it gets to its peak. The breath is going in, it's the strongest sensation, and then it starts to fade away again, until you notice the last sensation of the in-breath. It's not just breathing in, it's a whole series of different sensations which defines one in-breath. And you start to fill your mind with every one of those sensations. And you are sharp enough to notice the space between the in-breath and the out-breath. The in-breath has stopped, and the out-breath has yet to begin. And as I said earlier, but I didn't emphasize it, if you can pay lots of attention on this retreat to what I call the in-between moments of life, when one thing has stopped and the next thing has yet to begin, the in-between moments of life, that's where the action is, that's where peace is. A lot of times, we're always at our destination. We've left one place, we're going somewhere else, and we miss the in-between moments. The time when you've arrived at the airport, but your aircraft has not yet left. The in-between moment. You've left home on the way to work, but you haven't got to the car park of the office yet. You're in-between. You've left the hall here on the way to the toilet. You haven't arrived yet. You're in-between. So much of life is spent in between things. And a lot of that we just throw away. But that is where so much insight and peace can be found, in the in-between moments of life. And even the in-between moment when one in-breath is finished and the next out-breath is yet to begin, that's where we can focus our attention. Because these are places where you can actually find some rest and some peace. People always say they're so busy. But you do have many in-between moments, between jobs, between projects, between events. And we waste those in-between moments. In the in-between moments in life, if we know how to grab them, to value them, and enjoy them, we'll find we'll have far richer lives. A lot of life is no longer wasted. So this is the first in-between moment you can appreciate, the space between the in-breath and the out-breath. And then there's a birth of the out-breath. It's a little sensation, the breath being exhaled. And that grows and changes and grows and changes until you reach the peak of the out-breath. And then it fades away until the out-breath stops. And then you have another in-between moment. And I'm going to give you a test now, because people like tests. I want you to find out which is the longer, the space between the in-breath and the out-breath, or the space between the out-breath and your in-breath. Which is longer? Now, of course, it doesn't make any difference. It just gives you something interesting to find out, which means it gives you an incentive to be a bit more aware of the whole feeling of the breath, from the beginning to the end of each in-breath, the beginning to the end of each out-breath. And you might think, that is so boring. Imagine you go home and you say, what did you watch? What did you find out? I watched one in-breath from the beginning of the in-breath, and I saw it grow to its peak, and then I saw it disappear, and I discovered which is the longest between the in-breath and the out-breath and the out-breath and the in-breath. And people will tell you, get a life. You're crazy. But that's what people will think. But you will know when you do this, that by putting your attention fully on a very simple object, you discover peace. It's so peaceful just watching something simple. One of the reasons we get tired and excited is because what we fill our mind with is exciting things. Experiences which drain energy. They excite us, but they agitate us. And they leave us thirsty for more excitement. This calms you down. It brings you to a state of stillness and starts to release natural energy from your mind. As we mentioned earlier, I think last night, if you want to have a strong mind, keep it still. When you start watching just the whole experience of the breath from beginning to the end of each in-breath and each out-breath, you will find a huge amount of peace, energy, and happiness. You're starting getting into this meditation. And you can do exactly the same when you're walking meditation. It's not just knowing left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot. If you want to do that, join the army. This is much better than that. When you're lifting your foot, which part of your foot leaves the ground first? Is it your heel, your toes, the ball of your foot? Which one leaves first? Which one leaves last? And as your foot rises, does it rise vertically or move slightly back? How does your foot move through the air as you're walking one step naturally? How does it go forward through the air? Is it horizontal or a curve or like a wave? How does your foot move? And when your foot goes back down onto the carpet, which part meets the carpet first? Which last? And what does it feel like as you transfer the weight of your body onto that foot which has just finished its step, to release the other leg to also move forward? You start to become aware of not just left, right, but every part of one foot moving. You become aware of your body as a dancer does, noticing all the muscles are involved in just one step. And as you really get into this, it actually becomes fascinating. You're just walking and you never realized how complex just one step could be, and how many different parts, how many different muscles have to move, how many incredible feelings are involved in just one step. And then you do the next one and the next one. And you become so absorbed in the feelings of the feet. There's no space to go thinking about what you're going to have for lunch. There's no space to think about anything. Your whole mind gets filled with the sensations of walking. And that is when you really start to enjoy the walking meditation. You don't try to go slowly when you do the walking meditation. This is not a competition. Even so, I have seen in many meditation retreats people walking on these carpets over there, and it is a competition on who can walk the slowest. So someone else is walking really slow. Damn it, that means I have to go even slower. This is not a competition, just walk naturally, but it usually happens when you really get calm and you're noticing every sensation in the feet. Naturally you start to go slow. There's just too much going on to go fast. So always remember, the first year I became a monk, I did my walking meditation outside the hall in this monastery in the middle of Bangkok, really noisy. And in the hall they had a grandfather clock which chimed every 15 minutes. And I used that to time myself and to go from one end of the hall, maybe about 2/3 the size of this thing here. It took me half an hour and half an hour to walk back again. And I wasn't sort of faking it. It was just, you got so into this walking meditation, feeling every foot move, every sensation as it went down. Totally absorbed in your own world, really peaceful, very happy. It was a wonderful experience. And I could always remember the time when I forgot that I was invited to a ceremony and I was in my own world doing my walking meditation when they sent a monk to come and get me. I was late for the ceremony. And this monk came right up to me and shouted in my ear, "Brahma Wangso, you got to come for a dana." But what I heard was, "Brahma Wangso." It was such a long way away. "Come for a dana." That's what it sounded like, because I was really in my own Samadhi world, and he was trying the best to get hold of me. And it was just, I realized I have to do something. But you're so still, so calm, I just couldn't move. I know some of you said you're in meditation and you come out afterwards, you can't move. It's wonderful when you can't move. You're so still, it takes a while to get yourself going again. And what I did, he was right next to me, I tried to turn my head around to look at him. But just turning your head around, there's so many amazing sensations, just turning your head around. And I was watching so many, I just could not do it fast. I was really trying out of respect to move around, but it took me a couple of minutes, literally, to move my head around and say to this monk, "Pardon?" He must have thought I was crazy, he probably did. But I didn't mind, because that's just what happens when you get into these nice meditations. You're walking there and having the time of your life. You really enjoy it because you're really still. absorbed into this just walking meditation. It was fascinating. It was so joyful. So this is what happens in the walking meditation and the sitting meditation. You're sitting there and you never believe that one breath could be so fascinating. And it really is. So that becomes the full awareness of the breathing. See all parts of it. And my goodness, it's amazing what goes on in there. Your mindfulness is really expanding now. Focused inside, totally full with just the feeling of the breath. It means that hardly any disturbances. You get very calm, very absorbed, and very happy. And the next stage of the meditation is, I always keep saying that this is the crucial part of meditation. The one part of meditation I really, 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 really want each one of you to experience, which is the delightful breathing. He feels just so happy, just watching just one breath. Oh, this is so nice. Seeing all these amazing sensations of the breath from the very beginning to the middle and to the end. So amazingly delightful. The same when you're walking meditation. It's just so delightful just watching all these incredible sensations in your feet. It's the simplicity, the sheer peacefulness of it creates a delight in the mind. And you know that it's delightful, you've reached that stage of meditation. When you're meditating here and you're so happy that I ring the bell for the chanting, you're not going to get up and chant, you're going to sit there because you're having too good a time. The bell goes for breakfast or for lunch, and you know lunchtime, if I don't eat lunch, I'm not going to eat till tomorrow morning. What the hell, I'm enjoying myself. People miss their lunch. And you see them every retreat, there's always one or two people, 1 or 2 days. Lunch comes and they're just sitting in here as happy as Larry, having a wonderful time. It's more delightful to meditate than to eat. So that gives you an idea what the delightful breath is. I mean, it really is delightful. You're not faking it. You just, this is too good, I'm not going to give this up. I can go hungry, I can eat the next day, who cares? I can pig out on cheese and chocolate and all the other stuff which you can have in the afternoon. But that is a delightful breath. And I say that's crucial because then you realize this meditation is a happy path. It's incredibly joyful. You have fun. It's one of the reasons why people queue up for these retreats, why sometimes it's hard to get on a retreat. This is not going to the dentist. This is not going to boot camp. This is going to the pleasure centre of Perth, Australia. I mean that. You're going to really understand what pleasure really is and what enjoyment is. Just sitting here just watching a stupid breath. Oh, this is great. And you'll experience that. And you understand just why monks like me get into this meditation, why I am addicted to meditation, why it is my drug, why it is my resource, why you just see no way in the world we'll ever let go of this meditation. And it does lead you to enlightenment, so you don't have to worry. This is one addiction you could get into and indulge in. It's one pleasure. It's so difficult being a monk. There's so many things I'm not allowed to do. But this is one thing I'm allowed to do. Yes! It makes up for everything else. That's why they call them nuns. You know why they call them nuns? None of this, none of that, none of... That's a terrible joke, sorry. Sorry about that. Anyway, you can have lots of happiness in the meditation. And you really get into it. And you do see people on retreats with these stupid smiles on their face. They're coming out afterwards and they're just so happy. And sometimes you see them dancing. You can't help yourself. Or just laughing ridiculously. If that happens to you and you feel like laughing your head off, go for it. You're allowed. It's just part of the expression of joy when you get into some nice meditation. or skipping along the path on your way back to the room or whatever. You feel so joyful. That's what's supposed to happen. That's delightful breath. So expect it. It's a dangerous word for me to say, expecting something. But because sometimes people think, "Ooh, I'm enjoying myself, there must be something wrong." It's incredible. Western people and Western culture has infected the East. Sometimes when we're having fun, we think there must be something wrong. It must be illegal. It must be bad for your health. Something must go wrong when you have fun. And even in somebody said the definition of Puritan, the Puritan religion in Christianity, which is the stuff which went over to the United States. The definition of Puritan Christianity is the fear that somewhere someone is happy. And there's a lot to be said for that. I remember the churches I went to sit in as a kid in England. They were all hard wooden pews, no cushions. The walls were stone and they were freezing, no heaters. It was like, one of the austerities, the penance you had to do every Sunday. Listen to boring sermons. You never find any jokes in church, no way. It was always, "You're a sinner, you're going to go to hell, you're a bad person, you're all bad, especially the women, you're really big sinners, and everyone else is sinners too." And that was what religion was, and it's gross when you look back on it. But people think that we're not allowed to be happy. And even today, even some of you get into some happiness, and you think something must be wrong. I'm enjoying myself, I'm happy, I feel free. Because many people in Western religion have got into the guilt trip. The guilt trip means you've all done something terrible in your past, some evil thing which you don't want to let anybody know about. And you think, "Oh God, I can't be happy when this is hanging over me." Yes, you can. Just let it go, for goodness sake. Yeah, okay, no one's been perfect. I've done my stupid things in the past. But because people are like that, they do not think they deserve to be happy. That is why, and I'm going to have to print a lot out now. Some years ago, I started giving out happiness certificates on Bodhinyana Monastery letterhead, in nice written out, happiness certificate. This certificate permits, say like Ronnie, to be happy at any time, for any reason or no reason. Signed, Ajahn Brahm. Because people respect me, then they need a certificate. So they know, "Oh yeah, I can be happy. I've got permission from Ajahn Brahm." Those happiness certificates are really popular. When I mentioned that in a retreat I did in Germany last year, and because some fellow had some guilt trip in the past of what he did to his partner or whatever, and I said, "No, look, I forgive you. You can be happy, and I'll show you can be happy. I'll give you a certificate." And as soon as he got one, he told somebody else. They wanted one too. And the monk running the retreat, organizing it, stupid enough, he put it on Facebook. And as soon as Ajahn Brahm's happiness certificates appeared on Facebook, I had to make lots and lots and lots of them. Because why do you actually need permission to be happy? Unfortunately, you do, don't you? Because sometimes we think, no, we're not allowed to be happy. Especially in meditation. Already, people think if you're happy, you'll get attached to it. That's bad. You're a Buddhist. Attachment, bad. Please know what the Buddha said. There are some attachments which are troublesome. Other attachments are good for you. Be attached to your precepts. That keeps you on the straight and narrow. Be attached to kindness. That will give you a lot of happiness and make a beautiful world. Be attached to peace, to letting go. Be attached to the jhanas, the Buddha said. Then you be free. In brief, be attached to the raft which carries you from one side to the other side until it reaches the other shore. Then you can let it go. Please do not jump off the raft in the middle of the ocean. Be attached to the motorbike if you're passenger on the back. Don't go, oh, let go, let go. Yeah, sure, stupid. So sometimes you've got to be sensible as a Buddhist. So you're allowed to have happiness. So when it comes, don't be afraid of it. I mentioned that, and that's a serious point. Too many people are afraid of the happiness in meditation. It starts to come, you're enjoying yourself. Something must be wrong. Number one, you're not supposed to be happy in religion. Or number two, you get attached. Or number three, I don't deserve to be happy. Please watch those three things. They're all obstacles to your meditation. And I know that years and years and years ago, there was a visiting nun. She's disrobed now. It's just really such a shame. She's a really, really, really good Buddhist nun. And she was on retreat here. She was getting some amazing meditation, right on the edge of jhanas. And I was waiting for her to come and say that she'd broken through. And no, it's obvious that she was right on the edge there. She should break through, but then she just couldn't go through. And I was asking her, what's the problem? And then she saw what the problem was. And that was just like dagger to my heart. She said, I realized I don't deserve to be happy. All of that conditioning of a girl growing up, in a Western culture, you're not good enough. You don't deserve the bliss of a jhana. You don't deserve to be enlightened. You don't deserve to be free. I thought, how we've screwed up our young people. So I've got to unscrew you up to convince you you deserve to be happy, that you deserve to get jhanas, you deserve enlightenment. And don't think, no, I'm just a lay person. Lay persons can't become enlightened, maybe monks and nuns, but not me. Especially if Ajahn Brahm knew what I got up to before I came on this retreat. Don't even think like that. The last retreat, the star meditator, he had tats all over him. I couldn't believe, you had a look at all the people at the beginning of the retreat, and you think, who'd be the star meditator? And no, not him. And he was coming up and saying all these amazing experiences he was having. He was a really good meditator. But someone you'd never think would get into deep meditation. But he was really going for it. So, if you want to get deep meditation, get some tattoos. No, I'm not saying that. I just say that you don't know who could do it, who can't do it. So give yourself a chance. Give it a go. You can do it, and you deserve it as well. So when the happiness starts to come, get into it. Don't ever think, no, this can't be right. It is right. You get peaceful, you get still, you get happy, and have a wonderful time. And as far as I'm concerned, that's the best gift you can give me. No thank yous, no thank you Ajahn Brahm, just you get that stupid big smile on your face, and that makes me really happy because I know, right, good, you're on this path of meditation. You started to understand how it works. And this comes after the full awareness of the breath. The delightful breath, having a wonderful time. Get into it as much as you possibly can. Just indulge to the max. Yes, you will lose a lot of sleep because you get so energized, you just don't feel like sleeping. You lay in bed at night time and you can't go to sleep. Just rest your body and just enjoy yourself. It's perfectly healthy. In fact, it is much healthier than you've ever been before. That joy in meditation, that really gives you a big boost of health in your body. So just if you do can't sleep at night because you've got so much joy coming up in the meditation, just lay in the bed, rest your body, relax the body, maybe do a body sweep if you know how to do that. And just when you feel okay, just get up and meditate some more, do some walking, have a cup of tea, whatever you want to do. You don't have to worry, because if you make a mistake, you don't sleep at night, you can sleep during the day. Your bed is always there for you. Any time of the day or night, you can have a rest and catch up. So that's why we keep it nice and loose here. If it's happening, just really get into it. And if it's a night time, it's just after the evening talk show, entertainment, telling jokes about questions and stuff like that. If you really want to meditate, carry on meditating. Don't even worry about the clock. 1, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, you can sleep in. Doesn't matter. So because of that, you feel this incredible sense of freedom. That when the meditation is hot, you can really go with it. If it's difficult, you can get more rests. And this is what happens to delightful breath. And what happens next? Remember, this is just the beginning of the ecstasy. This is really when you get into it. Because the next thing happens, once the breath vanishes, because it does afterwards, it's delightful breath, having a wonderful time, things get so calm and so peaceful, your breath goes. Now, many people experience the breath disappearing, but they don't develop the delightful breath enough. So what occurs when the breath disappears, they go into a blackness, a dark space, which is okay. But if you develop delight before the breath disappears, you go into a brilliant space, because the delight is a sign of how much mental energy you have. The joy is the oomph of meditation. So if you get a delightful breath, when the breath disappears, wow, beautiful lights appear in your mind. These are the Nimita stages. And this is when it really gets hot and gorgeous, and you start to really get into this meditation. Say, wow, I'm going to tell all my friends about this. This is really having a great time. And these beautiful lights appear in the mind. This is Nimita stage. Now these lights are not seen by the physical eye. It's a mental object, and it's experienced as a light because that's the usual way we perceive things. We are mostly visual beings. The sense of sight takes more space in our brain than any of the other senses. So our brain is actually wired mostly for seeing things. That's the way we find our way through the world, recognize things, recognize our food. We recognize our food by what it looks like, not what it smells like usually. So we're visual beings. So that when we see a mind object, we usually use the most commonly used sense to try and interpret it. It's like, similar to a light. But it's one of these nimittas when it's a color which you'll never see in the real world. Like a yellow, but deeper than any yellow you'll ever see. A blue, but richer and more powerful. It's like supernatural blue. Or gold or white. The color is not important. Its beauty is important. So don't worry what color you see. Because some people say they see pinks, they see greens, they see yellows. They have the whole spectrum. Even this one guy over in Perth, he saw the black nimitta. And I've never seen that myself. Never, ever once. And I thought, hey, is that a real nimitta, a black one? But then he started to describe it to me. He said, it's a beautiful blackness. It's like satin. It was just deeper than the blackest, most beautiful satin. It was like shimmering. It was just so incredibly beautiful. I said, okay, that's a nimitta. The color's not important, but the emotional response you have to it, yeah, that is a good sign. It's a nimitta. Gorgeous, beautiful, really deep, powerful. Now those are the nimittas which I want everyone to experience sooner or later. They're delightful. Yeah, many people, they get nimittas, a light flashes up into their mind. Sometimes very powerful, but too short, because they rush. Instead of going through all the stages and making the foundations, all very strong, you all want to get there fast. Especially when I go around saying how beautiful they are and how ecstatic they are. Now I've generated desire in every one of you. Yeah, I want that too. And especially when you hear your friend has got a Nimita, that really sucks. This is her first retreat. I've been coming year after year after year, and they get this is unfair. And I've been bringing dana to the monks and to the nuns, and I've been working on a committee, and this person, they just come in from overseas, the first retreat there, and they get these brilliant Nimitas. This is really unfair. I don't ever think like that. Just remember, keep a pure mind. So eventually it comes up, but first of all, usually a flash comes up into your mind and you get excited, which means it doesn't last. So remember, you have to be really still. Shh. Really peaceful. So when a nimitta comes up, it's not disturbed. It comes up. Ooh. So keep your mind still. Don't get excited when things start to happen. Enjoy without fear. Now, of course, that fear is a problem in meditation. The deeper you go in meditation, the more the fear comes up. The reason is because you are going out of control in the most beautiful way. Not the crazy way, but beautiful way. You're letting go of controlling. You can't control these things. So you're out of your comfort zone. It's a bit scary because that part of you which is always in control is stopping, it's vanishing. And a lot of you wonder, if I'm not there to protect me, what might happen? What might happen is you become enlightened, you become incredibly peaceful, happy, joyful, the whole works. It is the joy which will overcome your fear. Yeah, it's scary. The same scariness of a prisoner who's about to be released from jail. They're going into a place they're not used to. They've got used to jail, and now they're being released. They don't know really how they can cope in that world outside. But you can cope, you do cope, you have a wonderful time. This is where, please have some trust and faith in me. I am a famous monk now. I've been teaching a long time. I've got a good track record. So I've got runs on the board. You can check me out. I've never got anyone go insane yet, and I don't intend to spoil my 100% perfect record on this retreat. So you are safe. Go for it. Just let these beautiful, peaceful nimittas, amazing states just happen. You are perfectly safe. If you have any fear, just remember Ajahn Brahm is here. You are safe. Especially with nimittas and jhanas. This is my expertise. So, when it happens, let it come and enjoy to the max. And don't have any fear. And those nimittas get stable. That's their job, is actually to stay there, not to move. If they are moving, it is because you are moving. If they are still, it means you're still. Imagine yourself looking in the bathroom mirror. If the image in the mirror is moving left to right, that means you're moving left to right. The nimitta is no more than a reflection of you, the one who's watching. So if you can just be still, your nimitta, that light, will be perfectly still. That's the hardest thing to do, but the most important thing to do. Stillness, stillness, stillness is the key. So once you are still and the beautiful nimitta stays there, then there's no choice except for that nimitta to get brighter and brighter and brighter. Again, don't be scared. It's common, even recently. It happened to me years ago, and somebody reminded me of this when, I think, a retreat, I think it was over in Malaysia. They came and said this nimitta came up and it was getting so bright they were thinking they were going to go blind. And it is become brighter than the sun. But remember, this is not a visual object. You're not seeing it with your physical eye. It's a mental object. So you don't go blind. In fact, it can become as bright as it wants, and there's no danger to your senses. It's just because we associate it with sight that fear does come up. And even if it becomes so incredibly ecstatic, like the other experience I like telling people, because it's a fun thing to tell people, sometimes the ecstasy got so great, the thought came up in my mind, no human being can take so much pleasure. They're going to burst. But the insight came up as the pleasure increased. There is no limit to the ecstasy that you can endure. Go for it. What a wonderful insight that is. So those of you who want to be pleasure seekers, you come to the right place. This is Jhana Grove Pleasure Dome. Really get into incredible sort of delight and happiness with these nimittas. Really powerful. And then eventually you go into that nimitta and enter the jhanas. But that's another talk another time. So far, I hope I've really put the bait out for you. You say, yes, this is what I want. And it starts to motivate you. But please remember, yes, these are the stages of meditation. How do they occur? By not wanting, by being peaceful. Stage by stage. Don't rush and jump the stages. All start by sitting down in a comfortable position. Don't forget the basics. Letting go of the past and the future. Calming down the thinking mind. Just watching the breath. Breathing in, breathing out. Watching more of the breath from the very beginning to the very end of each breath. Noticing the spaces between the breaths. Developing this full awareness of the breath until it becomes so delightful. Oh, this is really nice. The piti sukha, the happiness, is starting to develop. That's why I say it's crucial. Now you are meditating happily. No more sort of frustration, no more hard work. You start to really enjoy yourself. And then let that joy get so strong so when the breath disappears, these beautiful lights come. And just play around with that pleasure, that peace, that stillness. And see how much you can develop those nimittas. And who knows, maybe you might just fall into one of those jhanas. Their purpose is not just pleasure. There's a purpose for these. And that purpose is to develop the insights which really free you. But I will talk about that another time, another place. Until then, please bliss out. Thank you. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Very good. So there we go. You're going to have some good times. So we have the interviews now. For those who want interviews, those who want to bliss out, now you know what to do.